قسم حزقيال البحر الأحمر. حدث عندما أعطى الرجل 12 رغيف خبز لجموع الوثنيين الذين طردهم بولس من المجمع اليهودي.
I don't know where that video comes from. You guys are gonna have to bear with us tonight. You guys are definitely gonna have to bear with us tonight. All right, so wait. We don't have Rob. We're gonna try and play clips tonight. You guys have to tell us how that audio was. Were you guys able to hear that?
I could hear like the latter half. So I think the people were saying there was no audio. Let us know if you could hear part of it, because I definitely heard part of it.
All right, so wait, maybe we should we play that again?
Do you guys want it again? Do you guys want it again?
عندما قال يشوع ليوحنا المعمدان
Did you hear
قال
that?
إنه يجب عليك أن تولد
Oh,
من
easy, yeah.
جديد وتتجدد بروح جديدة.
Hey, spitting mad attacks.
All right, so the audio is going to be coming directly from my computer. So this is going to be such a messy show tonight. Oh man, what's up, Nick?
Hello. It's good. It's good. What's up, fellow Thomas Scholastic Answers? What's up, sir? Yeah, I'm doing good, dude. Doing good.
We finally got it so that you can highlight the comments you want to now, right?
It's too much power. It's too much power. I'm gonna have too much fun.
All right. I honestly, people don't understand how much Rob actually does for this show.
Dude, so true. So true.
So when did you hear the news that Cardinal Zen decided to have a little fun with Mr. Lofton today?
I actually think it was you. I think you texted me and sent it to me, and I was like, no way. And so then it was funny because I was actually getting ready to go out and do a holy hour, but I was like, I gotta go and read this. So I
ruined your holy hour.
No. I pop it on and I died. There was like 2 lines in it. We'll get into it for sure, but there's 2 lines in it that just made me laugh so hard. It was too comedic.
I think I sent the wrong file to you. Hang on, let me just see. Wait, because I want to actually bring the article up, and let me see, who did I send it to? I know I sent it to my
Appreciate the love, Carl. Appreciate it.
Okay, so I got the article. So I woke up this morning, Joe Boca texts me and he goes, "Did you see this yet?" And I'm like, "See what?" And I take a look and I'm like, "You have to be kidding me. This is too funny." Okay, so Michael today streamed a video and he said, "Did Cardinal Zen refute me on Fiducia Suplicans?" I don't think people really understand what Cardinal Zen was doing here. But don't worry, Cardinal Zen, we got you back. Because he was not refuting anything. What he was doing is telling Michael, he's telling Michael's audience, stop supporting this guy. Like, this guy's a fraud. He's a clown. I mean, he went, because I suffered through a couple of his videos today. He had a video 5 months ago where he goes and criticizes Cardinal Zen. Then a month ago, he has one where he criticizes Taylor Marshall and says Cardinal Zen shuts down Taylor Marshall.
Exactly.
Now, what's funny about this is Cardinal Zen did not shut down Taylor Marshall. Cardinal Zen respectfully entered a dialogue that Taylor was having on his channel. So Taylor was discussing Vigano and Barron, and the video's from like 2020 or something. And Cardinal Zen said, "Hey, I would respectfully like to enter this debate." And he put some ideas out there about Vatican II, and he talked about the hermeneutic of continuity. And at the end of it, he encourages Taylor to continue what he's doing, says you should stick with the traditionalist label. But Michael Lofton labels this as Cardinal Zen shuts down Taylor Marshall 4 months after lambasting Cardinal Zen.
Exactly. Anything that's convenient, he'll do. I'm pretty convinced. So anything that's convenient.
It's pretty funny. So we'll go through what Cardinal Zen actually said, and then you know what? Maybe we should play the Michael clips first, because
dude, I was gonna say, like, we have to first shout out the audience. So the audience has been memeing all day long. They've been sending us memes all day long.
I asked in our Telegram this morning. I said, I want all of your Michael Lofton memes.
Dude, they provided, and yes. The anti-beard take was hilarious. If people haven't actually gone and read Cardinal Zen's statement, it's super short. It's like 2-3 paragraphs. and it's definitely
This
well
was
worth the listen.
this was pretty funny. Like, refuting Lofton's arguments, not big man with a little beard.
Oh
It's a
man.
pretty fun ones. Yeah, we're gonna go through all of it, but I'm going to explain to everybody why Cardinal Zen did this. So let's see, what do we got here? Yeah. Oh man, we're gonna have to go through a bunch. Steve Ray, who is, like your kindest Catholic apologist of all time.
It's
Him
like
and
OG Catholic Answers World.
yeah, he's like the most normie guy ever. Let me see. I want to pull these up. Hang on, guys. You guys have to bear with me without Rob here. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so Steve Ray this morning tweets out, "Bravo, Cardinal Zen, a prince of the church." Michael says, "It's so sad to see how far you have fallen, Steve. You spent your career refuting Protestants just to become one at the end of your career." So Steve says, "I've always liked you, Michael, and still do, but we disagree on this. The degree we have follow or agree on everything with this Pope, but I like and support you on many other matters. I still consider you a friend. However, you calling me a Protestant is simply ridiculous and impugns your credibility." We've had conversations about Lofton on this show for quite a long time. My biggest issue with him is not that he supports Francis. I mean, I think that there's room for people to be the Pope-splainer in this current climate. I get the Catholic impulse to want to cover your father's nakedness and support the Pope. What Michael has done is made a grifting career out of just going after other people. So even that like Taylor Marshall video that I was just talking about, that video has 15,000 views. Now, anytime Michael just discusses theology or the magisterium, he gets like 1,000 views. Nobody wants to watch it. The only time he actually gets any attention on his videos are when he goes after people more prominent, more entertaining, more interesting than he is. And people,
Exactly.
There's a market for that because they're just, people are tired of I guess the trad world. I don't know. I mean, but I don't understand how you can see what's gone on in the past 10 years and not be looking with a puzzled look at this point.
That or just like at least understand that people are puzzled. That's the thing. I mean, some of the clips that we're going to show you guys tonight, Michael's just sitting there saying like, I don't see how you could even consider Fiducia in the slightest way to be confusing. All the confusion's from the trads. And if you do think it's confusion, then you have ulterior motives. And that's the thing. It's just at the end of the day, okay, you may disagree, but to just go out and start impugning people willy-nilly, I think is a bit extreme, to say the least. Bit extreme. But yeah, you're right. I think a lot of it's just grifting and for money, because think about it. It's just like I was trying to make a list of all the famous Catholics Michael's gone after. So it's like we got Scott Hahn, we got you and Rob, right? You and Rob, we got Tim Gordon, we got Flanders,
Ralph Martin,
Eric, Ralph Martin, Eric Ibarra, Matt Frad, Holdsworth,
Steve Ray.
Yeah, Steve Ray now. Apparently also who couldn't forget the Babylon Bee? Do you remember the Babylon Bee one where he called out the Babylon
my
Bee
gosh,
church?
that he took something they said seriously and said, "Why are you impugning the Pope like this?"
Yeah, he went after Babylon Bee. He's gone after obviously Strickland, Burke, Schneider, pretty much everybody. And so what's kind of funny to me about all this is it's not that again, like I wouldn't take some of Michael's arguments seriously. It's just that he's made himself a meme. Like he's made the word charity and nuance memes associated with him, which I think has completely defeated the purpose of what he probably would have wanted.
I think the most unbearable thing about him is the condescension. It's when he addresses people, and because if somebody puts something out publicly, it's it is what it is. It's out there publicly. You can address it. Like we've done, we played clips of people and discussed what they're doing, things like that. Like there's nothing wrong with that. What it is he really has made himself a meme. But the way he handles, I want to play. I put them in order, but there's one clip that I don't even know if I loaded it. Oh no. There's one that I posted today where I might have to just do audio for this one, guys, because Yeah, so we'll just do the audio on this one.
If Cardinal Zen or Bishop so-and-so or whoever is unable to harmonize Fiducia Supplicans with the past, I have a sincere question. Should they be a cardinal? Should they be a bishop? Should they be a clergyman? That's an honest question. So I'm not buying it. I don't think that the document's this confusing. I don't think that they're really just struggling to understand it. I think there's something else going on.
Okay, so you're wondering why Cardinal Zen wrote that today. That right there is it in a nutshell, right? Him actually having the nerve to say, if you can't make sense of Fiducia Supplicans, should you even be a cardinal? Like, this is a prince of the church. I mean, I've seen trads handle soupage with more charity than Michael is handling the Zen situation. Now, if it's not a cardinal of the church who has the right to actually challenge these ideas that are coming forward, who actually should do it? Like, should everybody in the church just, without question, just take anything that comes down from the Vatican without ever saying, okay, I'm having a hard time with this?
Yeah, no, I think from the videos that I watched, he wants to take the hermeneutic of continuity seriously. But by doing so, he immediately questions anybody who, in his mind, is not doing it as perfectly as him. I mean, that's why we're going to throw up in a second. But, on his YouTube account, he now calls himself the, inquisitor of YouTube. And I'm sure that that's, of course, a meme and a joke. But I think that it's somewhat indicative of how he's made his show. Like, everybody is like, oh, if I make some type of statement online, Michael Lofton's going to come and destroy me. Yeah, so this comes from his official YouTube page description. Magisterium Splainer, Grand Inquisitor of YouTube, mocked by Cardinal Zen for defending the Catholic Church.
No, you were mocked by Cardinal Zen for being a pompous tool, bro. That is why you were mocked by Cardinal Zen. This had nothing to do with you defending the church. If anything, and that's the other thing. What do you think Cardinal Zen is doing? Like, the guy is 92 years old. He's coming to the end of his life. Do you think this man who, before Francis, you have to really think about all of the guys who we considered heroes of the Catholic faith, the guys who taught us the faith, the cardinals who we thought were brave for standing up to the cultural zeitgeist. Every one of them who had the courage to stand up and say, no, this behavior is wrong. Doing this is wrong. I don't care what the culture says. All of these guys who were our heroes under the last pontificate, who adored Benedict XVI, who loved the hermeneutic of continuity in the Second Vatican Council. Now, all of a sudden, these guys are saying, wait a minute, something's going on here. But Michael Lofton says they're destroying the church. So we have to take what Michael Lofton says. What does he say here? Yeah, it's the same thing, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just
find a cure for nuance.
Find a cure for nuance.
So true, bro. So true. Yeah, no, I mean, it's the thing. It's the classic Overton window. It's like the guys that were, conservative, so to speak, a decade ago are now outside of the pale because of how the status quo goes. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, I get it. If people want to try to make that hermeneutical continuity to that extreme, okay, go for it. You have that right to do so. But if you're going to make a grift out of it, as well as publicly just attack everybody who disagrees with you all the time, one of the arguments I see Michael make a lot is he says, whenever people make videos about him, you never invited me to come on the show, bro. Like, you're not taking me very seriously. And I'm like, okay, well, all of the videos that you had about, like back in the day when you had Schneider on your show and stuff, they're all gone. They're all gone. All the videos that you have at SSP, they're all gone. Why aren't you inviting Taylor on the show?
Here's what you have to understand about Michael. He will use somebody to boost his own profile. Right? He'll use a guy. He had Tim Gordon on. He had Eric Ibarra on. He had Kennedy Hall on. He had Cardinal Zen on. He had Bishop Schneider on. These are all guys he had on his show. He gets them on, gets a little bit of boost in his profile, and then throws them under the bus. Like, there's absolutely zero loyalty to a person you have a personal relationship and friendship with. He doesn't care at all. Like, we have friends all across the theological spectrum. I mean, I really do. We had Pine Sap on the other day, and then I'll have Kennedy Hall on. You can have differing opinions from people without trying to destroy their reputation and accuse them of being traitors and Protestants.
Exactly. That's the thing. I will hang out. Like, I was watching So I think you're still in the chat, but Scholastic Answers was talking about this earlier, and his reaction to this whole article was pretty priceless. So go check out his video on the subject. It's pretty funny. But he was talking about, he's like, yeah, he'd come on here. He'd come on Avoiding Babylon and chill with us. And I was like, yeah, come on over. He and I am sure agree on like 95% of things because we're both Thomists and we both love scholasticism. We probably won't agree 100% on like the SSPX and Pope Francis, but like, who cares? Like, as long as you can be chill with each other, who cares? We're not going
you're allowed to have disagreements, and honestly, we got to get into some of these videos. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. All right, bear with me. I'm gonna pull it up, pause it. I gotta pause it real quick, and then I'll bring it back, and then we'll bring it up on screen. All right, let's see. Yeah, this is gonna be rough. You guys got to tell me if you can't hear the audio. I'll try and shut up so you can.
Pretty clear. I would say the confusion has mostly been introduced from the critics of the document, who have often misrepresented it. That has caused a great deal of confusion. But let's just say that the document itself was confusing. Let's just go ahead and grant that for a moment, hypothetically. My question is, what has Cardinal Zen and others done? What have they done to clear up that confusion by providing a harmonious interpretation of the document in harmony with the past, as they are required to do according to the hermeneutic of continuity, as Benedict, who made him a cardinal, noted? Now, what I've done on this channel is the first day it came out, I read through every single line of that document, and I showed you how it is harmonious with what came before, and how there's no substantial rupture. And I've also spent a number of videos continuing to do that because of the confusion that many critics.
So even how he's probably, I have done this on my channel. It's like
one of the things he said, I forget whether it was a tweet or whether it was in his video, but he said that Cardinal Zen needs to review his literally 57 video playlist discussing Fiducia. And I'm like, bro, the guy is 92. He's probably literally waiting to die. He's being persecuted by the Chinese Communist government. The last thing he wants to do is sit through more torture by watching a 57 video clip.
Well, even this, what we're doing, like this is tedious, right? Like what we're doing right now is pretty tedious. We're going through one of his videos, but what Cardinal Zen did, should we start reading Cardinal Zen, or should we play some of the pomposity, and then people will really understand why Cardinal Zen did this?
Let's read some of Cardinal Zen, because there's a few lines in it that I think the more theologically astute of us are, it's too good. It's too good, some of the stuff that he says.
Okay, so I am accused of not following the hermeneutic of continuity when criticizing Fiducia Supplicans. I must confess that I have often wasted my time following the program Reason and Theology.
So just again, picture in your minds a little old Chinese man going 92. To his computer and he's having some fun.
Well, that's the other thing. Okay, so people have to grasp what's going on here. First off, I saw a bunch of people saying this isn't, this wasn't charitable. He should have handled this differently. And it's like, first off, like, can we all man up? He made a joke or two. He said, I've wasted my time watching the. He's not like really insulting Michael. He's trying to get people to realize this guy's he's just the worst,
Yeah. No,
so oh, man. I've often wasted my time following the program Reason and Theology. And you know what? Props to Michael for getting him. I mean, he's got Cardinal Zen watching his channel. The guy, props to him for that. The big man with the little beard.
That's something I feel like Donald Trump would say if he was like, Michael, he's just the big man with the little beard. He's pretty fat and gay.
It really is a Trump-esque insult.
Oh, 1000%. It's literally just like I didn't hear what he said. I don't think he knows what he said. Like, it's one of those moments.
This big man with a little beard who would do well to hide his tattoo when he speaks like a theologian. Now, he's not saying it's bad that you have a tattoo. He's saying if you're going to speak like a theologian, maybe cover that up so you look a little more sophisticated than you, because you look like me, a construction worker, when you're discussing theological topics, which you shouldn't really be doing. I've been driven by curiosity to hear the hilarious nonsense he said. This time, however, I saw that he was criticizing me with great seriousness. He is scandalized that I, who insist so much on the hermeneutic of continuity, now dare criticize Fiducia Supplicans. I don't even think I'm pronouncing that right, but this whole video that Michael did on Cardinal Zen was just him for an hour plus speaking down to Cardinal Zen as if he is destroying the church with his words. Not even remotely taking into account that there were 5 other cardinals that submitted a dubia because there's genuine confusion, not because they want to stir contempt for the Holy Father. Like, they actually want clarity to some of these questions. These questions are weighing heavy on the souls of Catholics. Now, I'm glad Michael and the people who watch his channel are totally confident in everything they see, but the rest of the church is sitting here wondering, why does this pontificate seem so different from everyone that came before it?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, like, when you look at the whole span of the global church, you see all the African bishops had issues with it. Every single bishops' conference. Most of the Eastern rites did. A fair amount of Latin rite had issues with it. But apparently, it's so easy to interpret because he read every single line, guys. Yeah. He probably meditated on it too for his holy hour, and it's just super clear. It's just super clear.
Well, what you'll always notice about him is, because just like every document that comes out of Rome nowadays, it has a very orthodox beginning, and then they throw some mixed up nonsense in the middle, and then they end it however they end it. But there's always, the way the documents come out is there's orthodoxy in it for people like Michael to just keep going, oh, well, look at the orthodoxy, look at the orthodoxy. And he completely ignores the problematic parts. Now, I don't want to go through Fiducia Supplicans again. We've done it a dozen times. But the problematic paragraphs he always leaves out. And those are the paragraphs that these cardinals are addressing.
So true. So
true.
true.
That's the other thing. Cardinal Zen is accusing Francis of heresy. Now, what happened when the African bishops stood together and said, we cannot enact this? And they actually gave them an exemption. So why is it different when the African bishops do it, but not when Cardinal Zen does it?
Well, because if you remember, they had that really condescending line from it was either Pope Francis or what's his name, Fernandez, and he was just like, yeah, I don't think the Africans really understood any of this. It was kind of like one of those moments, just like, there, little black bishops, there, it's okay, we don't really, you can keep your thing going.
I want to put Christian Mario's comment up. That's so wrong.
I already did. No worry.
I wasn't me. That's Nick.
It wasn't me.
I got several.
I told you it would be dangerous to give me this power. It was going to be dangerous.
A little bit. I got several people reached out to me today and said, just remember, you'll be held account for every word. So I'm going to do my best. I also got a text from, I don't know if I should say his name, but he said, okay, that a non-traditional but good cardinal shot him down with a savage insult is hilarious. We'll have to call him forever the big man with the little beard. So much is packed in that insult. Intemperance, grandiosity, egotism, and theological obtuseness. And then he said, Lofton reminds me of Buddy Pine from The Incredibles, the villain who turned on his own heroes because he couldn't be one of them.
Oh my God.
That's actually what happened.
Oh my gosh. It's too accurate. It's too accurate. Do you still have your Henry Sessons tweet from the other day?
Damn, where did I send that?
I don't think
is
you
that
sent
in the
it.
show notes?
I think it's in the show note. Yeah, pull it up because it's, I think, worth talking about because we're on the subject. So for you guys who don't know, Henry Sessons is this, like, I don't even know how old he is. He's like Gen Z or maybe he's millennial. I forget. But he's this guy who on Twitter is Joe Biden's greatest defender. He is the president's planer, if you will. And he will defend tooth and nail every single thing that Joe Biden does. And we all independently the other day recognized that Michael Lofton was the exact same thing. So I mean, can you yeah, so it's like when you look at it, look at what Henry Sesson says. He just like after the debate, he says, "Holy crap, Biden just destroyed Trump. How many billions of dollars do you owe the civil penalties for, et cetera, et cetera." I won't necessarily read the rest of it,
Yeah.
but he's like, boom, Biden just calls out Trump for being a convicted felon. I'm like, why does this sound familiar?
The delusion you have to actually say this about that debate. Boom,
Exactly.
Biden calls out Trump for being a convicted felon. The only convicted felon on the stage is Trump. Exactly. Never let the American people forget that Trump is a convicted felon. He breaks the law. And then Lofton saying with the sunglasses, Pope Francis with the sunglasses, Francis approves Latin Mass. Oh, really? Does he?
Yeah, he met with some guys for the afternoon. Congratulations. What a great grift.
Yeah, and we don't actually know what happened from that meeting other than the Ecclesia Dei community Francis said to continue on with what you're doing. That's all we know. All right. Yeah, I don't want to show all of our conversations. All right, let's get back to the Lofton splaining. Let me find it. All right, so now I'm going to be lost in my place.
Be clear. I would say the confusion has mostly been introduced from the critics of the document.
We'll skip a minute because we heard it already.
Up that confusion and do what one is required to do, and that is interpret this with the hermeneutic of continuity. If I interpret it with a hermeneutic of rupture, I am no different than those who broke away from the tradition of the church and started to dissent against Humanae Vitae, or those who broke away from the church and dissented against Vatican II. I'm no different from them at that.
Cringe
so
take.
I have
Very
endeavored,
cringe,
just with a lot of effort at this point as far as time. It's been a very time-consuming thing responding to all of the critics. I've done my best to try to show people it's actually pretty easy to harmonize these things. And I'm certainly no authority on the matter. There are much more qualified people who could do a better job. Certainly Cardinal Zen could do a much better job than I in harmonizing Fiducia Supplicans with documents from the past, right? Wouldn't you say that? Or would you think that I could do a better job than Cardinal Zen?
So today Michael puts out his video and he's like, I'm not going to address the ad hominem attacks that, the mocking of my beard, and I'm not going to address the tattoo issue and what he says about people not watching. But how is this not an ad hominem in all ways? But he's not directly insulting him, but the tone of his voice, the condescending tone, just the arrogance of you thinking you understand what's going on. First off, you've been in the church for 2 years, bro, and you're talking to people who have been lifelong Catholics, have lived through 3-4 papacies. Some of them, I mean, Cardinal Zen's lived through 4, right?
Something like that. I mean, he's old dude.
5 technically, if you count John Paul I.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, for maybe even John the 23rd, 92. Yeah, he's 100. Guy's almost 100.
Goodness gracious, bro.
He's been around since the council. This guy.
It's like, I mean, he'd be around since he would have to have been born like the era of Pius
like
XII.
Pius the 12th. That's wild.
He's an old geezer. But I mean, like the reality is like, I mean, Michael can say this, but then like, okay, well, why did you change your YouTube profile to like, being attacked by Cardinal Zen, as if you're going to you're using this as almost another notch to prove your point. Yeah. You're like, everyone else is against me. I'm the only true warrior online defending the Holy Father. Well, no, Michael, here's the thing. You can have your theories. That's cool. You can do your thing. That's cool. You can try to merge a square into a round hole, etc. But if you really want people's respect, stop doing the 24/7 attack videos. He was born under Pius the 11th. Sean, dang, that
is wild. That's how long Zen's been around. So this
pretty epic, though.
You're talking about a guy who was born under Pius the 11th. He sees World War II happen. This guy's 92, right? So wait, yeah,
no, it's
he was young. He was young during that, but he still sees the change he sees the council happen, and he's gung-ho about the council. And
Yeah,
he's
exactly. He's not a trap.
he's taking Benedict's line of the hermeneutic of continuity, right? And he's saying we need to make sense of tradition, which that whole article that he did talking to Taylor Marshall was essentially that, the hermeneutic of continuity. And he's saying, look, does the Holy Spirit not have something to teach us in this day and age? Now, his interpretation of it is the same as Benedict's, where there was a council of the media and the things that happened. There was no proper way to implement it. There was no plan to implement it properly. Now, when Francis comes in, stop gaslighting me, man. I know what's happened under Francis. I know what he did to the John Paul II Institute. I know what he's done. When Cardinal Sarah was head of the Congregation for Divine Liturgy, he tells everybody, hey, you should celebrate Mass ad orientem, to try and have that hermeneutic of continuity, and you see the beauty from the old. No, don't listen to Cardinal Sarah. I don't want you to do that. Then he throws Cardinal Sarah you can see what he did with all of the staffing that he makes, right? He gets look at all of the cardinals and bishops that he's elevating and putting into positions of power. Don't tell me this is a hermeneutic of continuity. We're not the ones looking for a hermeneutic of rupture. Francis is a hermeneutic of rupture, and it's not because we're crazy.
No, I mean, it's like I made a video like 2 weeks ago. It was like within 1 week, Pope Francis prays with Buddhists, and people can say, okay, did he pray with them? Did he not pray with them? Okay, they're surrounding him, giving their chants inside the Vatican. That's not good. The video's up all over the place. Same week, he appoints 3 homosexual activists, open homosexual activists who are clergy members, to the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith. And then, he encourages an openly gay seminarian to, quote, continue going. But see, here's the thing. People have selective hearing. So they look at that, or they look at, within a few weeks, the 2 comments that he made about, Fagoli's, if you will.
Prochiagine and
yeah.
the most
So it's like
ever.
He makes it all together, and it's like, okay, if I wasn't Catholic, or if I was trying to be unpartisan about it, here's what I would say. Okay, Pope Francis, he probably behind closed doors says some off-color jokes. Yeah. But in public, he's a politician. And to be a good politician in the world of classical neoliberalism and globalism, you go along with the changes, right? And particularly if you already are suspect of liberation theology, etc. Yeah, exactly. He's going to be summoned for citizen comments against a YouTuber. So it's just stuff like that. It's ridiculous.
It's just, we've really entered bizarro world at this point, where we have cardinals of the church who we all respect. Actually, not even like he's not even. I'm all over the place, guys. I'm sorry when Rob's not here. Let's finish the article. Okay, so this time, however, I saw that he was criticizing me with great seriousness. He's scandalized that I, who insist so much on the hermeneutic of continuity, now dare to criticize Fiducia Supplicans. This means that Mr. Lofton does not even know how to distinguish the different value of pronouncements that come from Rome. If I remember well, Mr. Lofton sometimes confessed that he is not a theologian, but it seems to me that he understands the differentiated authority of the Vatican documents less than any one of my catechumens.
That is the greatest line, in my opinion, of the entire document, because that's basically like big brain theological trash. He's basically saying, you don't even know the theological notes, Michael. Chill out. That's basically what he's saying. My kids know better than this.
I speak of the hermeneutic of continuity when speaking of the ecumenical councils, the highest degree of authority of the magisterium. The declaration Fiducia Supplicans is instead obviously the work of the most eminent Tuco, even if rubber stamped by Francis. Now, Lofton will say, yeah, okay, but most papal documents are ghostwritten and rubber stamped by the Pope. That's fine. But if there is going to be a challenge, the proper place for that challenge to come from is not the YouTube guys criticizing, which is usually what Michael says. It is a cardinal of the church. And if not just one, it's a group of cardinals who are saying, hey, we're having an issue with this. We want a clarification. We're going to submit a dubia. Yeah, we're not going to answer your dubia. That's an issue right there. Like this is what we've been going through for the past, especially since Tuco's in there. Like Tuco's not exactly a theological brain. And the crazy part is guys like Lofton have actually said, we want Tuco for Pope.
I know. Exactly. These guys are on crack or something. I don't know what their deal is. I think that at the end of the day, I was thinking about this. I was like, why does Lofton do so much of this? Because it's like, okay, some of it's conviction for sure, some of it's for his job, and like, let's be honest, like if you make a video about, like even this video, like this video will get plenty of hits because it just has
Yeah.
Michael Lofton's in the title, right? and it's funny because we're not even addressing, and the point of this video is not even to address all his theological points. It's just to meme a bit because he's made himself into a meme. But I was thinking, like, why does he do all of this? And at the end of the day, I really have to wonder sometimes. It's like, is it, a fragile conscience in the sense that like he's afraid of what's going on and he's trying to like figure out a solution? Is he genuinely trying to help people?
No, I think
don't
he's
know.
a total fraud. I really do. I think he's a total fraud. I think this is all a grift. I don't think he has an ounce. I don't think he has an ounce of integrity. Not one. Listen,
Well,
to me.
and that's why I'm inclined to believe with you, because it's like you and I know enough people who he has smeared, and the fact that it's like
Yes.
Reason Theology back in the day, wasn't it like 4 or 5 hosts back in the day? And it is now literally, as you can see up there in the top right hand corner, the Michael Lofton Show. And it's one thing if people, have lives and they need to move on. It's another thing if you grift your way and alienate all of your friends to the point of where they don't want to work with you, and now they're your opponents.
Nick, I have people in my life that I disagree with, but I would never just, bro. I know other people who like were friends, had a falling out, and they still wouldn't do the things that he does publicly.
Oh, yeah.
They don't publicly smear each other and stuff. What the things that he does is so deplorable. I mean, I compare him to Judas. Like, you threw friendships out to get a couple bucks on YouTube to get your channel bigger. And then you sit there and you sit on this moral high ground, like, I am defending Pope Francis. That's not what you're doing. You're gross.
No, it's not. And that's the thing, is it's like, why are you going off and attacking people? Like, this would be the funniest thing. Taylor Marshall, if you happen to see this clip, this is advice from a Gen Zer. Go onto YouTube and make a 10-second short and just say, Michael, you are fake and gay, and then that be it. He'd make a 10-hour stream reacting to it, talking about all your quote heresies, and it would be the funniest thing online. So, and every single commentator, just go and make that video alone, and you'll do fine.
I'll never give him the benefit of the doubt to actually argue his theological points. I just wouldn't even get, like, that's not anybody who thinks he's this great philosophical or theological mind. Like, do you guys, I had to sit through a couple of his videos today, and it was legit torture. Guys, sincere question. If a cardinal called you out like this, would you make a video hours later acting like he is your peer? So, exactly. Okay, so let's try and see it as, let's say Cardinal Supich called me out. Because obviously if Cardinal Zen called me out, I'd be like, holy cow, like, no, like that's the difference, right? So Cardinal Zen is this respected cardinal who for under the last pontificate was a hero to us. I mean, this is a man who stood up to the Chinese government on behalf of the Catholic Church. Like, yeah, Michael, you're a YouTuber. You're a YouTuber. This man has a life of heroic virtue. Like, are you insane?
That's the thing. And plus, like, okay, let's say Supich was to call me out, but let's say it was in the same mode. This little skinny, scrawny, low T guy, he can't get with the times. He just wants to go back and he thinks Christ worshipped in Latin, right? Something like that. He'd probably say something like that about me. I would think it would be kind of funny. First off, because I'd be like, for me, it would be, how did you find my show? Because it's still pretty small. But then second, it would be funny because I'd be like, all right, yeah, like I am actually on the slimmer side of things, right? I'm a little bit on the slimmer side of things compared to especially Michael. And, at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? But I wouldn't get up there and I wouldn't say you are like this schismatic dissenter or you're lead people into schism. I would just be like, all right, this was, that was interesting.
Look. No, because at the end of the day, he's still a prince of the church.
Exactly.
So even if it's Supich, like, I don't know, man. Michael will act like he's all high and mighty because he defends Pope Francis, and then he will go and bury the rest of the hierarchy. Like, you're church militant, bro. Stop it. Mm-hmm. Like, that's all you're doing. You're doing what church militant does or did when they were around. Like, there's no difference there. You're just picking and choosing what authority you want to follow. There's no, and anybody, the only sin in New Church is criticism of Francis. None of these people that he's criticizing are actually attacking Francis in any way. They're saying, look, we have some issues with the doctrine here that you're putting forward. It's confusing. Also, these are spiritual fathers to countless people, right? Exactly. So these men see the flock struggling to make sense of things. So they are speaking up on behalf of that struggling flock. And if not them, who? That's what I want to know. Who is supposed to do this? Is it supposed to be Taylor Marshall? Is it supposed to be me? Prince of the Church would be the proper avenue for this.
Exactly. I'd be totally. The thing is that it is an apples and oranges comparison, because it's, at the end of the day, Fiducia Supplicans is at best a confusing document, right? That caused a lot of issues, right? At best, caused a lot of issues, and that's the thing. Michael's not even conceding that point. At best, we should both be able to agree, even if you think it's perfect, I think it's not, that at least it was confusing, right? And the reality is that because it's confusing, I can be like, okay, let's test this to the rest of the magisterium, etc. But if first, like, Supich comes out, right, which he's, as an example, like, thrown pro-life groups out of his diocese, etc. He has no issue with homosexual activity, clearly, in his diocese. Okay, well, then compare that to the natural and eternal law. Like, you don't have to, come out. If he comes out tomorrow and says Cavazos is a homophobe, I'd be like, okay, badge of honor, because, like, anybody who calls anybody a homophobe at this point is probably rooting for the other team, if you know what I'm saying. So it just doesn't work.
So the Pope is always right when teaching publicly on faith and morals. I've heard this Pope say that people that are living in cohabitation receive the same grace as those in marriage, in the bonds of marriage, and the sacrament of marriage. You're going to tell me that he's right in that situation because he spoke publicly? You're out of your mind.
That comment clearly doesn't know very much. And again, I don't know if you're just trolling or anything, but it's like that idea, I'll put it that way, that idea that the Pope is always right when he teaches on faith and morals, that's incorrect. There's 3 levels, broadly speaking, of the magisterium: the extraordinary magisterium, the ordinary universal magisterium, and the authentic magisterium. Most of what we have seen over the past 60 years has belonged to the realm of the authentic magisterium. The authentic magisterium only demands submission of intellect and will, not of divine and Catholic faith to it. And it is only going to be something that is, like, beneficial and helpful if the Pope or the bishop is teaching from the divine sources of faith. If they're not teaching from the divine sources of faith, then all the theologians are clear that we have the right to question and to withhold assent from it. What you're accepting is what Michael has proposed on his show, which is called the papal safety theory. It's this idea that even if the Pope was to teach something wrong, it can never damage the faith. Sir, that is a theological opinion as valid as the opposite theological opinion, which denies that. Okay, let's both hold different opinions. But if you're going to come out and say, well, you guys are wrong, you're schismatics, you're dissenters, no, sir, you don't know what you're talking about on the magisterium. If people want to go and check out that whole discussion, go watch a video called Clear Ideas About the Infallible Magisterium on my show, The Traditional Thomist, and you'll get a whole 2-hour lecture on the magisterium.
Yeah, guys, I'm sure a lot of new people will be checking this out. Go subscribe to The Traditional Thomist. He's got much higher quality content than our channel.
This is where I nerd out a bit. This is where I actually
yeah. All right. So let's skip this video and let's go to the next one and let's see what we got.
I'm gonna say this again. No, your reading of this is not in line with the theologians. Your personal reading of this. Go watch the video. I cite dozens and dozens and dozens of commentators on the subject. So no, it doesn't work.
I don't know who that is, but he's saying my interpretation is wrong. Why do we need Michael Lofton to interpret every single thing that comes out of the Vatican?
Exactly.
Like, seriously. Like we need to interpret everything through the lens of Michael Lofton at this point. Come on. Do we not as Catholics deserve to have a Pope who actually teaches the Catholic faith and not have to worry about these messy wordings where he's blessing James Martin's ministry at the beginning of Pride Month every single year? Like, do we not? Can we really not expect anything better than that from the papacy?
I'd say, yeah, just read Fiducia. Just read anything that Pope Francis has said. If it's super clear, then why is there confusion? That's the thing. The entire
Starting
African
with
Bishops' Conference
Amoris,
disagrees.
starting with Amoris, from the footnotes in Amoris, this papacy has been nothing but one confusing document after another, plus one confusing action or airplane interview after another, plus every horrific appointment to every single office that he possibly could to make sure that all the damage he's done is not undone. Like, don't make me do this. I don't like doing this on my channel. I honestly don't. I actually do like to cover my father's nakedness. We try not to talk about the Pope, but this guy is so insufferable that there's no way around discussing these things. He will sit there and highlight one little thing that sounded orthodox and disregard every single thing we have all been watching for the past decade. It's insane.
Yeah, when Pope Francis's papacy is done, and we have just, I predict it's probably going to be just like a pretty chill conservative Pope after this. If we have a pretty chill conservative Pope after this, what will be so nice is that the Catholic blog sphere will completely dry up on Catholic news for the most part, and we'll just go back to actually talking about theology. Can you picture that? That'd be epic.
Our show will be fine because we just have conversations that, like, we won't be looking for the next crazy story out of Rome. It'll just be a normal papacy where we're not worried about some airplane interview, and it'll just be, our show will just be friends hanging out, having a conversation, which is what we do regularly. You'll be doing nerding out into some traditional thing from the Middle Ages, and you'll still have something to do, and people will still watch it. The people that, I'm so excited for something like that to happen, because a guy like him, his channel will collapse. It will collapse completely.
Exactly. And see, this is the thing. What do you guys do when a pope comes out and he's just like, yeah, so Pope Francis was, maybe he doesn't go off like full cock, but maybe he goes off and he says, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, Pope Francis, he did a lot of damage by saying a lot of ambiguous things, and so we're here to clean this up. Is Michael going to be like, it was not ambiguous at all? I literally read it line by line.
I wonder if he'll continue to defend the legacy of Francis.
He'll defend Pope Francis when he's dead. He'll even if he it's gonna be too bad. It's gonna be too bad.
I don't know about this, man. I don't know about this. Everybody says that you don't know the Francis fatigue that's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm okay. I get a little bit of crap from this from typically boomers, but I'm a bit more optimistic about both, like, the state of the church overall, as well as elements of U.S. politics. I'm a little bit more optimistic, but yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that our next pope is going to be at least a neocon of some kind. I don't think he'll be a full-blown traditionalist, unfortunately, but probably a neocon.
I mean, we've had this conversation, but I think anybody even slightly to the right of Francis, you're going to see catastrophe. Like, if you get a Benedict the 17th comes in, there's schism. There's no way. The people that have their hearts set on progress, whatever the heck that means, this progression that's happening in the church, those people are not going to stick around for a Benedict the 17th. So I think by virtue of the office, I think a Benedict the 17th would end up becoming a Pope Pius X, because he's going to see it's futile to try and do a hermeneutic of continuity, and he's going to go, let's just go back to tradition. It's just, what else are you going to do?
It's going to be basically like, do you know much, Anthony, about the Fifth Lateran Council and Martin Luther? Do you know much about that?
Nah, not really.
So, like, the Fifth Lateran Council is one of those councils you never really hear talked about at all, right? And basically, Fifth Lateran Council ended like 5 years or something before Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses.
Oh, before? Okay, so it was before Luther. Okay.
Yeah, before Luther. And so it was up there. It was pretty short, but basically there were plenty of clergy who, for decades, kept appealing back to Lateran 5, Lateran 5, Lateran 5, Lateran 5. And eventually the popes were like, yo, okay, clearly all of the north of Europe is apostatizing. This ain't working. And so what do? They have the Council of Trent, and they nail things down, and they really have to open up and clear things. And that's what I think is going to happen. You'll see a lot of confusion continue. People have been appealing to Vatican II, Vatican II, Vatican II. Go back and read it. And then eventually we're going to have Trent 2.0, Second Council of Trent. It's going to come in there, clean everything up.
I think you're going to, okay, so look, because of the confusion under this papacy, I think you're going to get a lot of clarification of the actual, what the actual limits of the papacy are going to be after this.
Yeah. Well, it's even like I mentioned on my episode about the papacy and the magisterium, is that we have two extremes at the moment. We have an extreme by excess and defect. In excess, you see the hyper-papalists and the sedes, who both think that every single thing that the Pope says should be submitted to without question. And the sedes, the only added variable is that they think that because the popes have, quote, taught heresy, i.e. they're not the Pope. And then on the other end of this spectrum, and I criticize these people in my video too, you have what Tim is called, right? Tim Flanders is called the neo-Jansenist trads, which are like, it doesn't, like, unless it's a an infallible declaration, I'm just going to trash the Pope on everything and I will never submit to anything, etc., etc. Both of those are problems, but both of them lack true understanding of the magisterium as it's already been taught, and that's the issue. And so these videos that Michael is making only reinstills further confusion.
All right, let's play some more.
Clarification in light of the critics who twisted and distorted things. It seems to me the church has done that multiple times now. What still remains confusing? I don't know, but I'll simply say this. If we're having such a difficult time in understanding Fiducia Supplicans and harmonizing it with the past and what has previously come from the Saint Dicastery or from the church in general, I honestly fear that you'll be lost in trying to understand Vatican II and reconciling it with the past.
Like, you just think about what he's saying here.
Freudian slip.
But just think about, like, just the way he's talking about Cardinal Zen. Like, it's just, you really, you think about like what this man has lived through, what he's done, that he is a cardinal of the church, and he's just talking down to him like, I think that if you're having a problem with this, you're too dumb to understand Vatican II. But that's not ad hominem. That's not ad hominem. That condescending tone is an ad hominem, right?
You shouldn't be a bishop. That's not an ad hominem. Like, this is again, he is reminding me of the people who are like, man, if you think that like your gas prices are too expensive and that food shortages are a thing, you're just dumb. You need to open your eyes and recognize that this economy is working. It's completely fine. That's the attitude that I'm getting.
I've heard him highlight Padre Pio's submission to the papacy is, that's why because I saw that Padre Pio submitted to Paul VI, even though they were doing all this stuff to him. There's a scene in that Padre Pio movie that we watched. Now I don't know if it's really happened, but it's an interesting scene because there was a cardinal who wrote this scandalous article about Padre Pio, and one of the laymen comes up to Padre Pio and he's like, "We won't let him get away with this," and Pio smacks him across the face. He goes, that's a prince of the church. Who are you? You're a degenerate. Like, that's what he said to him. Like, I could just picture Padre Pio smacking Michael upside the head. Who are you? You're a degenerate. What are you doing?
Well, my thing is, it's like, again, like that argument from obedience doesn't work. It's a noble expression of obedience, 1000%. But a religious individual, like a religious as in a religious in that order, his submission is going to be a bit different than ours, because of, for instance, like vows of obedience, etc. And it's a pious practice to do. But does that mean that that's the universal standard? No, not at all. There's actually a fair amount of diversity within correct limits. You would have loved his raps. Maybe so. Who knows? Yeah, Padre Pio is not nuanced. I agree. He's not nuanced. He's not nuanced.
Yeah, you want to know what's funny though? Like, we don't ever go after other Catholics. It's just unique to this guy. Because
we've only talked about Michael like 3-4 times just because he's the gift that
it's
keeps
only
on
him.
giving.
But part of me wants to believe that deep down, Cardinal Zen did this for us, not Michael.
He did this for us.
Like, he did this for us.
He wanted to see
like, part of me just wants to believe like Cardinal Zen knows that we're the only ones that can do this. And really
all right, I'm going to give a subliminal message to Michael. So, Michael, if you're watching this, as you're preparing for your 6-hour live stream in response, I want you to know that Cardinal Zen messaged Anthony, Rob, and I and told him that he was going to drop this heat, and it was for our show. So take that into account as you expose us, please. I'm 100% serious.
He'll never rebut our show because we're not doing theological
because we'll do another response. It'll be more.
But it's just, first off, technically it's punching down for him. right? I mean, he's a much
not
bigger
cool enough.
channel than us. He's punching down if he addresses it. I don't think he'll ever. I think he's a little afraid of us. I think he knows. He knows I'm a little bit of a schoolyard bully.
Bro, he already told you you're going to hell because you called him
Yeah,
gay.
he did.
You're already
let's
going
read
to hell.
the last part. The last part of Cardinal Zen. It will be said that Mr. Lofton is defending the Pope, and nobody can blame him for that. Right? He's saying nobody can blame him for defending the Pope. That's a Catholic sensibility. But I am sure his nonsense will not help the Holy Father in any way. I am wasting these minutes of time not to defend myself from Mr. Lofton's accusations, but to invite those who frequent his site to stop wasting their time and perhaps their money. That's all this whole thing is about. This whole thing is not, it's listening to the condescending way Lofton is speaking about cardinals and bishops of the church who have any kind of issue whatsoever with the way things have been going the past 10 years, the way he talks down to them, like he is the official interpreter of the magisterium, and anybody who has any questions whatsoever is just a schismatic, a crypto-sede, or whatever nickname he wants to come up with to define us and tell us that we're all sede adjacent or whatever we are. This is just Cardinal Zen going, guys, please stop supporting this fraud. This wasn't about refuting his arguments. This wasn't even about insulting him. This was to get everybody, guys, this guy is a huckster. This whole thing, you want to know what his entire thing is really about? This right here is all it actually, oh no, not that. This is what it actually comes down to right here. Oh, what did I do? What did I do?
I think you have to like tab over. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Right here. Here it is. This is what it's about.
Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. There's already people jumping on the bandwagon, attacking the channel, and calling for its cancellation.
Who's calling for
Show them that you appreciate.
Who's calling for your cancellation? Who's calling for your cancellation? We want you put in prison, not taken off YouTube.
A random commenter who's like, this should be taken down. They're calling for my cancellation, y'all.
Appreciate content that defends Jesus's teaching authority on earth today. If you've benefited from the channel in the past, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and also consider supporting me at patreon.com.
Yeah, of course. That's all that. Look, his whole day. First off, I woke up giddy when I read this article this morning. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to do this. This is so exciting for me. But nobody was happier than Lofton, because in the end, what this actually does is raise his profile, and it'll bring attention to him and stuff. But hopefully more people see him for what he actually is. I mean,
you remember this one?
If you defend the Talmud, you should be canceled. I don't remember that. No.
You don't remember that one? So it was like 2 months ago, he came out with a video saying that the Talmud, every reference to our Lord in it that's blasphemous and satanic, right? That maybe, in fact, that it's not referring to Christ, and maybe it's referring to somebody else. And if you go to his YouTube page, you saw this, again, people go check out Scholastic Answers video on the subject. He went to his page this morning, and Lofton's doing all these videos now about the Israeli conflict. And he has like this video, which the thumbnail is like the Star of David up on it. I'm just like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but what the heck is going on here?
That's just weird. There was let me see. I want to get to, let's see. This is a short one. What does he say here?
I'm just not. And if that is the case, if Cardinal Zen or Bishop so-and-so or whoever is unable to harmonize Fiducia Supplicans with the past, I have a sincere question. Should they be a cardinal?
Yeah, that was the one we heard. Okay, I had that clip.
Should they be a clergyman? That's an honest question.
Oh, that's an honest question, Michael. Is it?
So, I'm not buying it. I don't think that the document's this confusing. I don't think that they're really just struggling to understand it. I think there's something else going on.
What else do you think is going on? Like,
I don't know. Like this.
So after Fiducia came out, after Fiducia came out, do you remember the picture in the New York Times the next day of James Martin blessing a couple in a church setting? And he comes out and he goes, Father James Martin is going against Fiducia Supplicans. And then like 2 weeks later, James Martin's at the Vatican getting blessed by Pope Francis. It's like,
no, I know. And he like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't understand. It's just something to where, for me, it's somewhat amusing because I sit back and I'm like, okay, maybe he just really, really likes Pope Francis. I don't know. I mean,
let me tell you something real quick about this chick. Me and her like gone at it in battle. She's grown on me. I actually like her now.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I've had like straight up wars with her about like Catholicism, but now I kind of like her. She's pretty cool.
Hey, that's funny. Anthony can respect people who will put up a good fight in good.
I'll respect anybody that doesn't get easily offended. I respect anybody that can laugh at themselves. Like if you can laugh at yourself and poke fun at yourself, obviously you don't take yourself too seriously. Like people that take themselves so seriously, it's difficult to, it's just difficult to be friends with people that are that like just it's just pompous, it's too much. This one I think was good too. Let me see.
Again, golly.
I kind of wanted to just make fun of him. Golly.
Again, golly.
You're having this much difficulty with this document. Boy, you're ripe for the picking for a set of a contest to come along and not pick you off pretty quickly and show you, oh, well, look, Vatican II is just completely a rupture with the past, and therefore you should reject Vatican II. An Eastern Orthodox, a well-educated Eastern Orthodox apologist could pick these guys off and pick them apart pretty easily, I would say. This is really not hard.
This is really not hard, guys. Like two men getting blessed in a church.
We're just so confused.
Why are you confused? It's blessing the couple and the union are two different things as of 10 minutes ago.
I'm like, okay, look. So according to your logic, again, is every single bishop's conference in Africa completely just off the rocker since apparently it's so easy to interpret? That's the issue that I have, is that there seems to be, like modern papacy thing. Like
I need to know how somebody can watch what we just watched and say he's pretty impartial, not arrogant. He lets logic and facts speak for themselves. People add the attitude to it. Like, are you watching something different than me? I don't know. Like, am I nuts? Because I know I'm like,
you're Italian.
Yeah, I'm Italian from New York. Like, I like, things bother me. I
don't think so. Like, I mean, that's just the thing. Is it's like, okay, Francis has his words, he has his actions. They've been confusing. Is Michael clear? I think Michael is clear on the fact that he loves Pope Francis. Yeah, like that's not insane.
Do you think he really does, though?
I don't know. See, this is the thing. Maybe I'm naive. For me, the reason I do YouTube is because I genuinely love theology and I love like teaching people and helping people, having discussions. So again, like actually, if you're still in the chat, Scholastic Answers, if you and I want to do a collab one day, that'd be kind of fun. Nerd out over some scholasticism. But it's like I love it for that reason. But I think because this is Michael's career, and he knew that there was a niche market for the anti-Taylor Marshall crowd.
Yeah.
And he jumped on that bandwagon because actually you have the chat. Pull up that the photo of MOC from back in the day. Did you look at that one that I sent you from earlier? From MOC.
Pope Lofton off the rails, that one?
No, from the meaning of Catholic. It has Kennedy Halls in the photo.
I saw one let me see. It's in the show notes.
It should be in the show notes, I'm pretty sure.
Let me see if I can find it. I see a bunch of tweets you sent.
I'll send it right now again in the show notes. Just
send it to the show. Oh, here it is. I got it.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Dude, do you remember this world? Like,
so look at
this.
So this is back in the day, 2 years ago. Lofton says, let's just put it this way. Lefebvre was at least more of a hero than John Paul II.
Holy cow. I look at Kennedy up there with Jeremiah and man, those
were the days. Those were the
You
days.
have to really think about how much this guy has changed his opinion, how many times he's changed his opinion on things. How do you know
that was a rare Lofton W, though, I would actually say. But that's my controversial opinion. But that's the thing. Like, Lofton, you can have your opinion. That's cool, bro. But at the same time, what you were doing is causing a disaster. I don't know.
He said at the end of his show today to Cardinal Zen that if you saw how many, because in the line where he says stop wasting your time with this guy, where he says I'm wasting these minutes not to defend myself but to invite those who frequent his site to stop wasting their time. Wasting their time. I get messages all the time from people who tell me that I saved them from leaving the church. I get messages all the time from people telling me, dude, if it wasn't for guys like you speaking out and letting me know I'm not crazy, I'd have left the church. Like, there's people on all different spectrums who need to hear different things. I remember I was not attending the sacraments after seeing Francis do some of the things he did and hearing a show with Taylor Marshall, Tim Gordon, and Patrick Coffin called Red Pilled on Pope Francis is what brought me back, because I said, wow, there are guys who actually are not hiding what they're seeing. They're not just explaining this stuff away. I felt like I was losing my mind. I felt like I was crazy. Yeah. So I do think there are people on different spectrums who they just have different temperaments and they don't want to hear like delusion. Like the things he does is delusion.
Yeah, that's part of it. I think also just, I mean, maybe this is going to sound a little harsh to everyone, but it's like this. Let's be honest. The average Catholic layman is so starved of basic catechesis that he knows a handful of things, right? But when he sees some stuff online, one way or the other, he can be swayed either way. And so, of course, the mass, if you will, of uncatechized faithful can say, you saved me from Sedevacantis, bro, because you made a 56-part series about why Fiducia is based in a 500-plus part series on traditionalism. Or they can look at Taylor Marshall or us and say, well, thank you guys so much. You know, you saved me, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not trying to make it relative. My point is just, okay, anyone can say that. Literally anyone can say that. It's like, for instance, with the Trad Recovery Conference, right? They're saying, okay, look at the negative impacts of traditionalism. I'd say, okay, well, take your exact same arguments and you can apply them to, why don't you have the Catholic Recovery Conference? Atheists and deconstructionists who are like, I was hurt by the Catholic Church and this is why it's wrong. We need a recovery conference from it. That's the issue. Anyone can do it.
You guys don't even know how many people reached out to me today.
Like, you got a lot.
There are a lot of creators that I'm friends with that would love to do what we're doing right now, but like they just don't want to play in the slop. Like, we don't mind getting our hands dirty. But they wrote, bro literally has spotlights focused on his master's degrees. Like, who's gonna say?
That's a fair point, actually. I didn't think about that.
He's got spotlights on his master's degrees. Like, how are you gonna tell me this guy isn't pompous? Come on, stop it.
Just look at that face. Look at that face. That man is the magisterium of YouTube.
I am sure that people are. I mean, we're going to be flooded with the Lofton groupies after this in the comments. Like we get them every time. Anytime when Eric Ibarra came on, whenever we talk about it, we get the Lofton groupies telling me how uncharitable I am. But the whole point of showing these clips is to show that he's uncharitable in a passive aggressive, underhanded way. That he may not be calling names like I am, but he's doing it in a way that's so underhanded and just look at how dumb these people are. I know better than a cardinal who stood up to the Communist Republic of China. Like, are you insane, bro?
Do I put up a Scholastic Answers comment here? It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
People calling me the N-word, but depending on random messages are not relevant.
Dude, that's so funny. That is so funny. It's true. It's true. I mean, this is what I find funny. So it's like, okay, think of the buzzwords for a second. Let's break this down. Charitable, nuanced, hyper qualified, statements like you can't read my heart, stop judging me, etc. Okay. Lofton, your literal career is to judge other people, assume what's in their heart, and you're not being charitable, quote unquote. And that's the thing. Does all of you guys out there, by watching Lofton, can you guys tell me, aside from maybe Scholastic Answers, a good definition about what the virtue of charity is, the fruits of the Holy Ghost accompanying the said virtue of charity, the vices that are against the virtue of charity, etc.? We just use the term charitable as a substitute for nice. Being nice, being friendly. That's all that we do.
But is Francis the Pope, though? You neither know that he is nor know that he isn't, but not knowing is just too uncomfortable for the trads. They either become 58 sede or tantamount to it, or they become papal idolaters. How about neither? Neither Kennedy Hall nor Michael Lofton, neither Tim Gordon nor Mike Lewis, neither Father Maudsley nor Schneider or Lofton, neither say the Novus Ordo is not a Catholic rite, nor the TLM is not a Catholic rite. I don't know what you're getting at there. I think that the majority of oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, from kind of what I'm getting from that, I'm wondering, and correct me if I'm wrong, sir, who commented that, but are you Eastern Orthodox? Kind of sounds like it's coming from an Eastern Orthodox perspective. And again, my simple answer literally to all of that would be, don't follow creators. Don't follow us. Don't put us into these, like, puppet master schemes of like, always go to them as my authority. Go back to the manuals, go back to the catechisms, study your Catholic faith, get properly trained, build an intellectual habitus, and then go and compare. There you go. That's all you need to do. And if people want to say, well, that's too difficult because we don't read, we want Twitter. Okay, well, you're lost.
I would say the majority of trads that I know have kind of resigned to saying, okay, I'm not 100% sure what's going on right now, but I trust that Jesus has promised that the gates of hell will not prevail. Like, I trust that promise, and I'm not going to make crazy pronouncements. I'm going to sit back and just see how God handles. Look, God writes straight with crooked lines. Things that you think, like the things that we think are so insane right now, we don't know what was going on. We don't know what popes held personally in the Middle Ages because we didn't have access to them. What's getting crazy is kind of the ambiguity in the documents that are coming out that we've never seen in the history of the church. But I still think the majority of people are sitting back and saying, okay, God's going to use this for good. He always uses what we do wrong for good in the end. And I think that's the majority of people's positions right now.
Yeah, exactly. If you want, I can give you like a brief, like 30-second debunking of sedevacantism or sedevacantism, if it's probably that. So it's like, here's my big issue with the theory. Vatican I is explicit in its anathemas that the papacy and that the See of Peter, right, will endure until the end of time, right, until our Lord returns, right? That is a dogma of faith with an accompanying anathema to it. Here's my question. If the papacy has been vacant, or if the See of Rome has been vacant since 1958, then that dogma is rendered, at least in its practical terms, completely useless. Therefore, my censor that I would apply to sedevacantism is at least proximate to heresy, because in practice, it denies one of the dogmas. Now, if one wants to retort and say, but what about all this stuff that's been going on since the council? Okay, I agree with you, right? I'm an SSPX guy, but I also recognize, or maybe if I want to meme a bit, nuanced enough to say there's different levels of the magisterium. And if you want more information on that, go check out my video. So, gonna do a 20.
Yeah.
The Diamond Girls are gonna do a 20-hour response video to me next. Dude, it would be really interesting if the Diamond Brothers just did a video, like a hit piece on me, just because I'd be interested to see, like, based off of my like little time on YouTube, what they would quote dig up. They'd be like, he presents himself as a traditional Catholic, but unfortunately, he's a heretic. So it's like,
but that's everybody. I mean, you had that crazy broad from Boston saying the same thing about you.
Yeah,
right. The crazy broad from Boston was saying the same thing. Look, I just think that I have friends who are on like a wide array of the spectrum. I just think it's so confusing right now that I kind of just extend a little charity to, regardless of your position, because first of all, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I have my position, and I have obviously like concerns about sedevacantism, etc. But I'm also not going to just go out there and blast and be like, oh, it is so obvious that Fiducia is completely in line with everything that Pope St. Pius X did, and if you don't read that, you just don't speak English. Like, I'm not gonna do that.
It is crazy how just the whole idea of modernism really has set into the church. I mean, just throughout the entire hierarchy, and to the point you made on the trad roundtable that day, that we're still all making it like this is about liturgy and that's what's going on right now. But really, there's a doctrinal crisis in the church right now, and we're dealing with a hierarchy who just does not care what God actually thinks, and they're very concerned with the opinions of men. And that's what I think it comes down to.
Yeah, bro, if you want, let's do a collab on that. That'd actually be an interesting discussion. I think it would be proximate to heresy myself, because at least in practice, with the added variable of no pope since 1958, the 1958 part particularly, I don't see how you don't at least tantamount it in practice proximate to heresy. But yeah, to your point, Anthony, I agree. Like neo-modern, what is so seditious about neo-modernism? People, if you want a definition of neo-modernism, you can go find it. Father, isn't like Father Hardin? Was it Father Hardin who
Yeah.
wrote that Catholic
Yeah, I think
dictionary? Yeah, he has a good a definition for it online that can be found if you want a shorter version. But basically, neo-modernism is taking the dogmas of the faith and rewording them for modern man's sensibilities, particularly wedding modern philosophy with Catholic theology in some form. The end result of that, of course, is said the changing of the faith. This is what Humani Generis was extremely concerned about, right? Pius XII and Humani Generis. I'm actually making a very long video right now on the subject of the new mass. It's going to be like my one-shop staple video on the new mass for people who don't want to watch my whole series on the new mass. And one of the things that I go over is that when you go over, for instance, Boyar, Bunini, Dom Ortacosel, etc., these guys who help craft the new mass, what goes back to the root of it is that they had fundamentally different notions of the redemption, sin, propitiatory sacrifice, justice, man's dignity, etc. And these bled into the new mass. These were different than what was traditionally accepted in scholastic thought. And the result of this was a liturgy that promoted, right, at least, or weakened or obscured Catholic doctrine, obscured it. The end result being, therefore, is that we see today your average document from Rome is not written by a Roman congregation filled with Thomistic Dominicans who are applying censures, right, to the modern errors, but rather it's like the document that you and I covered on transgenderism.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff, but it never talked about how this is an offense against God.
Yeah,
Can one
absolutely.
believe
There was a
that-
couple of good things in it, but it was also very messy, that whole document too. So, all right. So, can one believe that the currency of Peter is vacant and not be a sedevacantis? In short, having faith that the next pope will unquestionably be Catholic. I think a lot of people hold that opinion. I think there's like a name for it, sede-privationist or something. But they hold since 1958 too. So, I think this is an interregulist.
This would be, I mean, I guess I would have to ask a few more questions. So it would be, one, did you believe that Benedict was still the Pope up until he died? Because that's Benny-Plenism. But I would say, yeah, like if you believed, for instance, that Benedict's resignation was legit, but that there's not been a Pope since 2013, I would say that that's just a brand. It's not a classical, but it's a brand of sedevacantism. Because some sedes say that John the 23rd wasn't a Pope. Some of them will actually push it further forward and say it was Paul VI that was the first, quote, invalid anti-pope. I would say both of those are wrong. And I would say that for me, I think that there's just overwhelming evidence that Pope Francis is the Pope. But I think that there's also equally overwhelming evidence to suggest that at best, his teaching, particularly when it comes to his authentic magisterium, has been riddled with at least problematic things that need to be cleared up ASAP.
Man, all right. We're not going to drag this on for 2 hours. We're going to wrap it here. You want to go to locals for a little bit, Nick?
Yeah, we can go to locals for a little bit.
All right, everybody. If you want to continue this conversation, we're going to cut this portion off over here, but we do have a locals. I don't have Rob here to send you guys the link. I don't even know how to put it up, so you guys will just have to figure it out. We're going to go over to locals. We're going to chat. We're going to discuss with the audience and on locals how they think this whole thing went and how much pushback we're going to get from it. I don't really care anymore. Like, I'm kind of comfortable with the fact that we probably, I like that you get invited to the theological roundtable and I'm kind of the outcast, because at least a portion of our show gets to have like the highbrow conversations. I don't mind slinging mud here and there.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, the only reason that they didn't have you was because there was literally not enough spots.
Yeah, actually,
that was part
on StreamYard. You can only put 10 people in.
Yeah, it was rough, but we're allowed to invite other people. So you and Rob totally went. So what it's going to be for you guys who haven't seen it, if you go to 1 Peter 5, once a month we're doing a trad roundtable of kind of like the bigger trad influencers, etc. But it's going to be on different shows. So the next one's going to be on Kennedy's show sometime this month. And then after that, it might be me, or actually, no, I think it's Murray. Murray, who's in the chat.
Yeah,
Murray Rundas.
we're actually invited on that one. Catholic Family News.
Okay,
When it goes on Catholic Family News, we're invited to that one. I
was gonna say you can. Yeah, I was gonna say you can come on mine. That's really cool.
Yeah, I tease and I make jokes and stuff, but I'm pretty sure I will be welcome at least on a couple of. That's if I can even make it, because you guys do it during the day while I'm at work. We'll see how it works. But
Yeah, and this
all
guy,
right, guys,
look, he builds castles and digs moats. So make sure and like this video and go help him over on Locals, please.
Yeah, I have to get out of New York, guys. I don't make Lofton money, that's for sure. Maybe I should start insulting Cardinals.
Don't make Lofton money. I want that Lofton money, yo.
Yeah, thank you, Murray. I appreciate that. I have a very good relationship with Matt Gaspers and Murray, so I'm pretty sure. And Kennedy likes me. We'll see. Kennedy's a bit of a modernist. I don't know. I might have to straighten him out a little bit, but he's Canadian. He can't help it.
He's a bit of a modernist.
See, Kennedy, I asked him to join us today.
It is hereditary, I think, for Canadians.
Well, he said today's Canada Day.
He said he can't.
I said, but the joke's on you because we're deporting Lofton to Canada tonight. So that's going to be his punishment.
That's so funny. Man,
right,
Canada,
guys.
I guess I'm just such an American that when I hear Canada Day, I'm like, that's the gayest thing I've heard. I'm sorry. I know I probably shouldn't have said that, but I don't care. I stand by the statement. It doesn't sound
here's
right.
what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill the YouTube feed. I'm going to kill the YouTube feed. I think I'm going to kill the Facebook feed. I guess I'll leave it up on Twitter and Locals. So if you're watching on Twitter or Locals, you guys can still hang. I'm just going to kill YouTube so that this doesn't turn into a 2-hour video. All right. We will see you guys. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull a Rob right now. I'm going to actually give you guys an outro. Let me see.
Oh, wow. Here we go.
I'm going to try. All right. We will see you guys over on the other side.